man was lynched yesterday. Like when you talk about those amount of articles, and you can't just blame Cambridge University. This is the media. This is 188 articles.
A lynching?
What else could you call it?
So I want to come back to this story. It's been 24 hours since news of Jason Arday, Cambridge youngest black professor that took his own life. And it looks like the media is trying to shift this blame, the scrutiny of the many articles and videos, basically scrutinizing, criticizing Jason Arday plagiarism, some of the tales that he has said that turned out not to make sense, to be impossible, or just not be true. Many people believe that it's the scrutiny that caused Jason Arday to take his own life. So this video is from Channel 4 News. You can look at the like to dislike ratio. People are not really feeling it. I saw the other BBC videos as well that shows that it seems like the mainstream media is taking that narrative and running with it. So let's watch this and react to it.
British academia could be. Now his death is a reckoning over duty of care, institutional failure, media. Jason Arday was once held up as a symbol of what British academia could be. Now his death is a reckoning over duty of care, institutional failure, media scrutiny, and racism. The Cambridge professor resigned last week after allegations of plagiarism and that parts of his life were exaggerated or made up. Arday admitted errors in his work but denied plagiarism. The 41-year-old was clearly struggling when he stepped down, saying in a statement, "What I have experienced has gone far beyond scholarly disagreement."
It's not being told in a proper context. What is being sold here is a black professor that was hounded to death, basically by a racist smear campaign. That's the frame that they're trying to portray. And what this quote saying, I have experience has gone far beyond scholarly disagreement, is not scholarly disagreement. It was basically pointing out that certain things that was said that he didn't write, also things that he said he didn't happen. Before we continue, let's just go through some of the things that he said that were just made up fabrications. Beyond the 188 near identical sentences that he had in his PhD dissertation. So apparently he said that he went to some show called 7 Up. He said he appeared on a show. The problem is the show started 21 years before he was born. The BBC confirmed no involvement. So this is basically impossible. Then some charity numbers. He claimed to raise £5.5 million. The verifiable record shows about £6,300. Then he talks about endurance feats with no evidence. He claimed to have run 600 miles in 6 days. That's a near world record. And 30 marathons in 35 days. And the last 9 with a hairline fracture of the fibula. Journalists note there's almost no evidence that he completed any of these runs, despite lesser runs getting heavy local and national press. Then, when he was challenged with this, he revised it to 600 miles in 12 days, including rested. Then he told The Guardian that he's been threatened after his Cambridge appointment, including a severed pig's head delivered to his parents' home. Subsequent investigations found no evidence to support his claim. He also claims of holding visiting professorships at the University of Glasgow, The Ohio State University, and the Nelson Mandela University, and that has been discredited. He also claimed back in 2026, at the age of 21, he went to Brazil on a relief mission and installed water pumps in Rio de Janeiro, listed on the other unsubstantiated claims that no one's able to corroborate, no one knows has actually happened. So it's more than just something's wrong with his dissertation and you have to go back and forth on, okay, how much did you write? How much was really yours? It was a lot of problems, basically an entire life that he created for himself.
He was leaning on a number of people. I think he was desperately trying to find a way to stay alive, actually. He kept telling me, and I know he kept telling other people that he was leaning on, that he felt as though his life was over. I'm pretty surprised Cambridge did not recognize how extraordinarily vulnerable he was.
Cambridge University.
What would Cambridge University have done? I mean, they could have researched this and vetted him properly, not give him the job, and I guess this wouldn't be happening. They said they should have known his issues or known that he was going through something. They didn't know him at all. They just went with what they saw on the internet. Maybe they assumed, well, if he was able to run 600 miles with a broken foot, that he was able to raise all this money, that he was able to do all these physical feats as well as raising tons of money, he'll be fine. I mean, they did no effort to truly find out who he really was. I mean, he wasn't being honest. What would Cambridge University do? Once it was exposed that a lot of the things that he was doing was not true, they were not going to keep him. Eventually, they was going to fire him. Remember, he resigned as Cambridge University was going to conduct their own investigation. So it was just a matter of time.
Have released a short statement in which they say they are desperately saddened by the death of Jason Arday and extend their sympathies to his friends and family. But we've spoken to multiple professors at Cambridge University who say that they feel let down by the senior leadership there and that they feel there was a lack of duty of care towards Arday. Some feel a sense of mutiny towards senior leadership and feel that there must now be resignations.
So they're saying that there should be resignations because of who hired him that should be fired and who okayed it, or the fact that he was caught. No one checked him out at all. No one verified any things that he was saying. Jason Arday was not fired. He resigned. But Cambridge should just not accept the resignation? No, you're not quitting. You're going to stay. Even though, again, they had to do their own investigation to figure out most likely that a lot of things he was saying wasn't accurate. I'm very confused on what these other professors wanted Cambridge University to do.
For some, his backstory was too hard to believe, and many tried to pick holes in it. Arday was autistic and said he didn't speak until 11.
I went to university at 20, but had the reading age of a 9-year-old. You know, so you're trying to really kind of...
Really? I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, it is.
Allegations against Arday's work resurfaced recently when this former Cambridge researcher Nathan Kofnas published claims of plagiarism in the professor's work. Kofnas had his research role terminated over his views on diversity. Arday then suffered a relentless campaign of coverage against him, with his stories making headlines around the world. There were articles asking questions about his life before academia. Was he really on a popular TV show, 7 Up? And how long did it really take him to run from Edinburgh to London for charity? The stories went deep into his personal life.
In the last 9 days, there was 188 newspaper articles about Jason Arday. Right? You do not see that same level of scrutiny, that same level of coverage about other cases of plagiarism, other cases of people exaggerating their CVs.
Because he had the most craziest tales to spin. He was the youngest black Cambridge professor. Also, we're in the summertime where, think about it, it's not a lot of news happening. So it's unfortunately, a time where there's not a lot of stuff being covered. This comes out, again, Cambridge has been around for decades and decades, and this is happening. This guy is talking about, I'm running 600 miles with a broken foot. That's a story. That's a really interesting story.
Because he was a black professor.
There is no doubt that the fact that he was a black man was a contributory factor, if not the major factor, as to why the coverage that he received and the coverage of the case he received.
So it seems like they're mad about the coverage and not what he did. Not the fact that he misled the university, misled the people that he probably had to lecture, he's talking to, he's mentoring, all the people that interview him, all the people that ran with him, who believed in him. They don't care about those victims. They only care about the fact that, well, too much attention was put on this man who was effectively lying about every aspect of his life.
Some allege conservative figures are targeting black academics in a war on diversity. Black professors make up barely 1% at UK universities. At the heart of it all is a personal tragedy. Arday's family said last night they were in shock to have lost an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son.
Emily with her there. Now joining me is Kendi Andrews, who's an academic specialising in black studies and a friend of Jason Arday. Kendi, first off, our deepest condolences, obviously. I understand you spoke to him yesterday, which must mean within a matter of hours before he died. What was his frame of mind, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I spoke to him on Monday, we had dinner, and I texted him over the week. And it was very clear that he was overwhelmed, he was upset, he was depressed, he couldn't see a way out because of this avalanche of stories. 188 stories on Jason Arday. It's a mob, it's ridiculous, it's ludicrous. And he just he didn't want to leave the house. When I saw him on Monday, he had lost lots of weight. He was clearly damaged by all this scrutiny and speculation around him.
Or he was damaged by getting caught. They're making it seem like what was being alleged is so unfair, not true. They're not really arguing it anymore, obviously, because he's passed away, but they're more focused on the response. He was able to use a lot of trickery to become Cambridge's youngest black professor. That's pretty high up there. This would have happened here in America if someone was able to do this at Harvard or at Yale. If this was just a really local community college, that they would have 188 articles written about him. That's not true. So they're being a little disingenuous on how they're talking about this.
And clearly emotionally isolated from what you've just said. Was he on his own yesterday when you spoke?
So he's had people around him, and we've been trying to support him. But I do want to stress here, this isn't just a tragedy. A man was lynched yesterday. Like, when you talk about those amount of articles, and you can't just blame Cambridge University. This is the media. This is 188 articles. This is constant scrutiny. This is people outside of his house, even today when he's died. This is unprecedented. And I want to stress this very clearly. If he was white, he would still be alive. This is the story, and I just can't believe how bad it's become.
A lynching?
What else could you call it? So you have people like Nathan Koffnash, let's just say these are racist ideas, who put this idea out there that he's a victim of plague. We still hear this.
I understand grief. So I'm going to respectfully disagree with some of the points he's putting out there, but I understand grief. I understand dealing with a friend who has decided to take their own life. You go through all the emotions. You are angry. You want to blame somebody. You're frustrated. You're blaming others. You blame yourself. You wish you could have done more. You wish you could have figured out this is what they're going to do. But then you get mad at yourself. Like, you wish you could have done more. So I understand he's upset, but he said it was a lynching. And I understand a lot of emotion attached to that. He was not attacked. He took his own life. No one came to him and tried to lynch him as true lynching. And I know he's over there in the UK, but if you really want to understand what a real lynching is, you could look up American history of what that is. This was a lot of social media, a lot of news, a lot of stories that he could have kind of took a step back and not spend his time watching it and looking at it. But the problem is he developed a fake identity, and the identity was exposed, and he probably didn't know how to deal with that. So they're not really looking at the entire situation. They're just looking at, well, the media went after him, conservative media went after him, they're attacking him, 188 articles, that's too much. How many articles would have been acceptable? 10, 20, 0? I'm assuming 0. They'd rather have him continue this tale that just wasn't true. I mean, it was the job of the Cambridge to vet him. They would have vet him. They would have said, hey, listen, we investigated this, and, you know, that dissertation, you have 188 lines copied from somebody else. We've investigated some of the physical feats that you said that you did, that didn't happen. We investigated a few of these issues. No, we're not going to hire you. That may have saved his life, actually.
You did it today in the same story. He was allegations of plagiarism. Those allegations were investigated and he was cleared. I read his PhD a year ago and said this is not plagiarism, and he was cleared. Yet that's still part of the story. And then all of this resounding pressure, media pressure around him, memes on TikTok. Okay. I would have said before it was metaphorically a lynching, but like I said, he's now dead because he's black. What else do we call that but a public lynching of this man?
Okay, that notwithstanding, we arrive at that situation, do we not? Because it is said by some that the duty of care, which not just one university, and you work in universities, but perhaps two more, didn't execute in the way that they should have done. Surely there is some responsibility lying there, and surely that needs an independent, truly independent, fully independent inquiry.
Oh, certainly there's I'm interested about the other universities. I would say they're part of the thing I always push back heavily. Being an academic, knowing how jobs get handed out, this idea that Jason was somehow not credible and given the job for the wrong reasons, there is no evidence of that at all. He was a professor at Glasgow and he moved to be a professor at Cambridge. Cambridge certainly have a duty of care. Cambridge did the right thing at first. They knew it was a smear. He'd been working behind the scenes for 3 years on this, and they said, look, this is a smear, nothing to see here. But sadly, because of all the media pressure, they then bowed to that, and also from some academics at Cambridge, and said, we're going to launch an investigation. An investigation into what? Right. The allegations about him lying about running the marathons aren't actually precedent to his job.
If you are going to be a professor and you're not honest about your life, regardless if you think it's not related to your job, I think that's a problem. Your professor should be the one that's on the up and up. honest, transparent, and if they're not telling the truth on his athletic abilities and the ability to raise money and those other things, and the fact that 188 identical sentences, they cleared him. Did they clear him or they just looked the other way? So claim this was a lynching. Many people face brutal criticism across our country, and I'm sure a country over there, overseas, and they don't do what Jason Arday did. But I think when you have crafted this perfect identity, you're the hero of the story, this idea that you were not able to speak or read until you were in your early, or I guess late teens, and somehow you're able to become this professor, that you were able to run these marathons even though it doesn't seem like it was physically possible to do, saying that he was a part of a show that didn't happen. These are the issues that we have here. He was creating a house of cards full of lies. And eventually the cards fell down. It's sad that he did this. It's sad that he couldn't just hold on a little bit more. Maybe found some professional help. I know his family and his friends are obviously upset, and they're trying to find ways to put blame on others. And that's understandable, that's grief. But us looking on the outside of it, this was a sad story, but it's based on individual actions and then the institutions that cared more about his skin color than his ability to actually do the job. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.